So I'm going to call a bit of an audible today. Instead of doing the preview for match day number 3 of the MLS is Back Tournament Part 2, I'm going to do the news of the week because it's been a while since we have done a news of the week, and I also want to wait until tonight's match, which involved a pair of Group B matchup, to see how is that going to affect the last game that's going to be happening in the group stage. Well, one of the last game that is going to be happening in the group stage of the MLS is Back Tournament, and that is the Chicago Fire against the Vancouver Whitecaps. So, the biggest news coming out of this week, and it actually happened yesterday, is that there is an announcement that the free expansion team that is coming to MLS soon will now be delaying their inaugural year in MLS, with Charlotte now going to be entered in the league in 2022, and Sacramento and St. Louis is going to enter in the league in 2023. Now, Austin is still scheduled to be entering the league next year, but that also means that we are going to unfortunately have 1 year where there's going to be an unbalanced schedule because of it. And this is not a big surprise, consider the whole COVID-19 pandemic has really wreaked havoc in terms of these expansion team preparation of heading into the league. And I always thought, Charlotte coming into the league in 2021 was kind of a little bit unrealistic, consider it was just like 14 months before they only had like a 14 months preparation, and that they were just 14 months away from potentially starting their first game when they announced that they were going to be coming to MLS. And they haven't even got their team name yet, although in a couple of days they are going to announce their team name, and they kind of already did a little bit teaser on their Twitter page by eliminating some of the potential team name that they are going to announce. So it's going to be interesting to see what their team name is going to be. And I did actually check out on their Twitter page in terms of those possible team names for the Charlotte team, and thank goodness it's actually going to be not a generic name that is like Charlotte FC or Charlotte United or Charlotte SC. It's going to have a kind of a nickname in the back of the Charlotte name. And I always love when teams don't use like a generic United or FC kind of name when they come into the league. Now, there is also reports that there has been no positive COVID-19 tested between the period July 16th to the 17th. And this is great news in terms of the MLS's Back Tournament, and probably a small sample size of showing that the bubble is clearly working right now. And I also want to say that this is why I said before, when people kind of overreact on social media, talk about how this tournament should be null and void and that this tournament should have not gone through, those people probably did not actually get the memo that those infection rates that happened to FC Dallas and Nashville, there's no evidence that it actually happened in the bubble, and that there was actually reports saying that those cases actually happened before they actually got into the bubble. And I always say that as long as we don't have any or a lot of positive COVID-19 tests in the bubble, and as long as there's no evidence of the fact that, or there is evidence of the fact that if there is a spread in the bubble of COVID-19, I just don't think this tournament is going to be canceled. And if we continue at this rate where there's going to be no positive tests, or at least only a few positive tests each day, I think we're safe in terms of continuing this tournament. And that now that I hear this news about the fact that there hasn't been a positive test been reported for a while, it makes me pretty confident that not only the fact that we're going to get this group stage done, but this tournament is going to be finished by the time we hit to the middle of August, when the final of the MLS's Back Tournament is going to take place. Now, moving away from the whole COVID-19 talks and talk about injuries, Chicharito, of course, will be out for 3 weeks with a hip injury. Yesterday, it was announced that he was not going to be playing in El Tráfico because he suffered a hip injury, although now today I got more details that he actually is going to be out 3 weeks with that hip injury. And I have a feeling that is probably the last time we're going to see Chicharito in this tournament. And I doubt that he's going to be coming back in this tournament, mainly because the Galaxy, the way that their situation is in this tournament, yeah, they're definitely staring down elimination in this tournament. And that without Chicharito, even though they kind of look a little bit better yesterday without Chicharito, I still doubt that, they can potentially move on in the next round, and that it's going to be kind of a little bit of a miracle to move on into the next round after they suffer that 6-2 loss, and how damaging that goal differential took after they suffered that 4-goal loss to LAFC. So yeah, if I'm the Galaxy, I mean, yeah, Galaxy fans are going to be disappointed that Chicharito is not going to be part with the team, but it's not like it's going to make any difference if he's going to come back in the team, and that the Galaxy look like they are really staring down elimination now, with the way that not only they haven't got a point in this tournament, but their goal differential is really, really bad heading into the last game of this tournament. And remember, goal difference is the first tiebreaker to determine who, of course, move on if there is a tie in terms of the points. Vito Wormgor unfortunately undergo surgery and is now going to be out 4 to 6 months. And certainly my best of wish and speedy recovery is to Vito Wormgor. And I know the Crew player after the game against the Red Bulls, they actually did a good tribute to Vito Wormgor, even held up his shirt and said that this win was from Wormgor. But yeah, it's very unfortunate to see him, of course, suffer that injury in the opening game. I thought at first that injury didn't look that bad, but then the way that he didn't really get up and he had to stretch off, something tells me it probably is a pretty serious injury. And unfortunately, it was a serious injury, and that he had to undergo knee surgery, and now is going to be out 4 to 6 months. And it's going to be a little bit of a damage to that starting 11 for the Crew. Although, knowing how the Crew has been playing so far in this tournament, they look like a team that even though they lost a couple of their pieces, or lost Wormgor for 4 to 6 months, it seemed like, I think they're still going to be pretty good for the rest of the season, because they have shown that in these first 2 games, they not only have a very good squad, but they have a very deep squad heading into this tournament. Disco, which, by the way, still exists in this tournament, for those that wonder whether or not the disciplinary committee is going to hand out fines. Yep, they are going to do that, and that they have already handed out a couple of fines and suspension. They suspended Jose Martinez in that game against Orlando City, and fined Nani and Castellanos for simulation, and JJ William for failure to leave the field after the red card. And probably he also got fined for saying some explicit language that, unfortunately, as I said, ESPN kind of picked it up and didn't censor it. And that, I don't know if ESPN actually got fined for forgetting to bleep out that explicit language. But yeah, maybe that was kind of also part of the fine, besides the fact that he failed to leave the field in a timely manner after he, of course, was given his marching order deep into the stoppage time game against FC Cincinnati. Speaking of Atlanta United, they have officially signed Paraguayan forward Eric Lopez and will join Atlanta United 2 on loan till the end of January. And this is kind of an interesting one, because, I thought when they bought Eric Lopez, this will be a guy that will be in place of Joseph Martinez. Well, Martinez is recovering from his ACL injury, but now they're saying that he will actually just join with their reserve team, and I have no doubt that he is going to just absolutely tear up USL. With the way that I've heard, he has definitely a lot of high potential, but I'm kind of surprised they didn't just plug him straight into the starting 11, considering the fact that forward and number 9 position for Atlanta is in desperate needs right now, with the way that they just have they have nothing going for it on the attack, and that they really don't have an actual number 9 that can actually put the ball into the back of the net. So it's kind of a surprise that the one forward that they decided to sign to kind of put in while Joseph Martinez is recovering his ACL is heading to the second team, but apparently that's what they decided to do, and let's see how this is going to work out. Now, the Vancouver Whitecaps have extended Russell Talbot contract to 2023 with option for 2024. There's a bit of a mixed reaction for the Whitecaps, or for the fan base of the Whitecaps, about this news. Some Whitecaps fan thinks that he should have not received a new contract because he has not been good at all, and he shouldn't be anywhere near the starting 11. Some of them say that he is good enough to be in the starting 11. Like, my take of him is that Talbot is definitely a decent kind of player, but he's not really a... If you ask me, I think he's a decent enough player to be kind of a depth piece, but not really kind of a player that usually should be be a regular starter on an MLS team. So it's kind of surprised the fact that he kind of got a new contract, but I guess the Whitecaps really love the way that he plays, and that's why they decided to give him a new contract until 2023. Now, the Loons are actually looking to get French center back Bakia Debassi from League 1 and from Amiens, who is actually going to be relegated into the second division of French soccer after League was unfortunately being suspended. And at first, when I heard this news, I thought that this was probably the replacement for Iko Para, knowing the fact that Iko Para, he's probably gonna got a couple of years left before he potentially head off to the sunset, and that Bakia Debassi is gonna be the guy that is gonna be next in line to take that role that Iko Para is in. But then I realized that he is 31 years old, well, about to turn 31 heading into next month. And that kind of makes me wonder, why in the world do we decide to think about signing a center back that is already in his 30s to potentially replace a guy that is already in his 30s right now? Like, my only understanding of this move is probably they saw what happened in a couple of transfer windows ago when they got Roman Metenier from a League 2 side, and that, it worked out for us before. Maybe this will, of course, work out for us again by getting a player from League. But honestly, this is kind of a bit of a strange one, but we shall see whether or not if this one is going to get done. And then if this one does get done, I'm assuming he's going to be just for depth pieces. Like, I doubt that he's going to be starting in front of either Iko Para or Michael Boxall in that center back partnering. And that may be the reason why the Loons might decide to get him, is that they think maybe the Iko Para injury is severe enough that they need to have an actual center back to be pair with Michael Boxall, which, again, I don't think we need to do that, because so far Jose Aja, I thought he has done very good job in terms of filling that spot that Iko Para has in. Like, I had some doubts about Jose Aja filling that role, knowing the fact that, from what I heard from Whitecaps fan, he's not really a very dependent defender. But so far, from the first 2 games, he's done a pretty good job in terms of holding that back line, and he certainly exceeded my expectation of how he was going to be performing in that back line with Michael Boxall. But finally, in terms of the last news for this news of the week, the Qatar World Cup schedule has been released, and there is going to be games that is going to be kicking off at 1 p.m., 4 p.m., 7 p.m., and 10 p.m. in the group stage. And I also heard the final is going to be taking place at 6 p.m. in the evening. Now, if you live in the East Coast, that means it's going to be 5 a.m., 8 a.m., 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. That is the games that's going to be taking place during the group stage. Or if you're in the West Coast like I am right now, it's going to be 2 a.m., 5 a.m., 8 a.m., and 11 a.m. And, this is the thing about dealing with World Cups that is either in Europe or, in this case, in the Middle East, is that unfortunately we have to deal with early kickoff time. I mean, I remember the last World Cup in Russia. There was a couple of times I have to wake up very early in the morning to, of course, watch a game, and that my most memorable moment from that World Cup in terms of just watching the game is that I actually woke up 5 in the morning to watch England versus Panama from a hostel in Los Angeles. And yeah, I was trying very, very hard to not really celebrate and wake up everybody in that hostel, because obviously England won 6-1 in that game, and I was very happy about that as an England supporter. And yeah, that was kind of a very memorable way for me to kind of watch a World Cup game that early in the morning, and it seemed like I probably will have to do the same thing. Although this time I think what I'm gonna have to do is that I'll probably watch some of the games in the morning, but obviously I think in the evening game I probably won't be able to watch them, because that's when I most likely will be be at work, and I'll probably just watch the highlights or watch back of these games during the evening time and just kind of DVR these games to see what happened in those ones. But yeah, there you have it. That is pretty much it for the news of the week. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of these news, and if there's any news that I didn't put on the board that you want me to talk about, let me know in the comments below. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I, of course, will see you guys next time.